And the Y'all Show. Good to have you back here. It's time for us to put on our country music cowboy cap because Preshias Harris is back with us here on the show that covers everything in the South. And we're going to get the latest on what's going on in Music Row in Nashville, Tennessee. Welcome back to the Y'all Show. Mama P, Preshias Harris.
Hey, everybody. Hope everybody's doing good. Sorry, I just had a little bite of something Southern.
What? What in the world could be Southern?
Pecan roll.
Ooh, now
pecan log roll. Sorry.
Yeah, that would definitely be Southern. Hey, let me remind everybody just who that lady we're looking at is. Preshias Harris. She is what we call in the biz a music career development consultant. What is that, Preshias?
Well, if you want to be in the entertainment industry, and I mainly focus on, well, I do help musicians join the AFM and understand if you want to be a musician for your career, things like that, certain things that you're going to need to utilize to be that. Singers, songwriters, aspiring actors, actresses. I actually have a couple of connections in Nashville and Atlanta with the film industry. As a matter of fact, one of my big claims to fame is a little kid named Jeremy Ray Taylor, who his cousins were my clients several years ago. And when I met him, he was just full of just life and I'm like, he has got to meet my husband's agent. And so I called her up. I said, you got to meet this kid. And what can you do? So he went over there. He did a spot on interview. Next thing he knows, he's on his way to Hollywood to audition for a Harrison Ford movie. And then he was in the Alvin and Chipmunks movie. And now he was in it too as the little heavy-set kid named Ben. And but he come here. He was telling me the backstory. He spent the day with me last January, and he goes, they wouldn't let none of us see the face of the clown. I can't remember his name because I can't watch scary movies because I get bad reactions. Okay, like nightmares, sleeping into my parents' bed for weeks. But anyway, Penny somebody. Anyway, he said they did not let the young kids see him, what he looked like or anything until they were on camera and they were shooting their scenes. So the reaction you see in it too of Jeremy, the little heavyset kid who's been in the movie, the reaction on him is completely real. The video producers did it on purpose because they needed a reaction that was going to be spot on. So they're like, oh, I already know what he looks like. It's not going to scare me. So what you see in the movie is real reactions. They made it as true as form as they could. For Pennywise. Pennywise, that's his name, Pennywise.
I'm glad I asked that question. That's what a music career development consultant, even helping out those who are seeking a little bright star in Hollywood. Also, Preshias is the author of I Know Country. That's got 366 daily country music questions and answers. In fact, we're going to steal one of those, Preshias, if you don't mind, for this week's Q&A, and we'll be asking that in just a few minutes. iknowcountry.com, the website where you can learn more about I Know Country. All right, Preshias, we're going to discuss, this is not hard for me to bring this subject up, hopefully not too hard for you. We're going to talk about a bunch of country music ladies here on today's Y'all Show. That okay with you?
I can't help it. I love the girls of country. I'm so glad they're finally getting a little bit more recognition lately. And
I'm not bringing them up here because I'm trying to give them special recognitions. Hey, they deserve it. Some of these ladies have projects that we're going to discuss right now, and we're going to share all the good gossip. In fact, one thing not on here, Preshias, I'd have to bring this up. Speaking of actors here, you helped that youngster out with a little acting role. How about Rex Linn and Reba McEntire? That was the gossip that broke this week. Do you know who Rex Linn is, Preshias?
I do not.
He is an actor, often a character actor, and he was on the series CSI Miami. That's probably where most people would recognize him from.
Yes, I know who you're talking about now. I knew the name.
And it just came out here in the last couple of days that Reba and Rex, who I think is a Oklahoma native, just like Reba, but he's a Texas Longhorn fan. I've had a chance to interview him before. They are an item. And I didn't realize Reba, and she had a little bit older guy she was messing around with. I didn't realize things had gone south with them.
Messing around.
Yeah. You
Oh,
know, we mentioned last week Reba's got
you
her
don't
own.
mess around.
She's got her own podcast now, and this is where this information evidently got leaked about her and actor Rex Linn, Rexlinn. If you want to Google him, you'll know him once you see his photo. You'll say, "Oh yeah, I've seen that guy." In fact, I'm thinking he's been in a bunch of movies in addition to TV shows. But
Oh, yeah, you do
Reba,
IMDb and run it on IMDb, and it tells you everything he did, how long he was in it, how many scenes he had, all that stuff.
and one thing, I mean, I think I know him a guy. I think Reba's freaking beautiful. Okay, I'll just go ahead and say it.
On the
little,
inside too.
I've had a thing with redheads most of my life, so I really think she's just a stunning. I think Rex would tell you he's not exactly on the handsome scale all that high. So all I can say, Rex, that's what you call out kicking your coverage. So good job there, Rex, on landing Reba.
Well, I love Reba because, like I said, we last year she was at the induction, and my assistant, who's a little bit of a clumsy clut,
Yeah.
who fell right down in front of the Backstreet Boys at a Christmas for Kids, one of the Backstreet Boys, but she has a jumpsuit, and she forgot to check her zipper, so her zipper gets stuck. Then she texts me. Another one of my kids gets it from the Nashville Songwriters induction, where Reba was part of it that night with Brooks and Dunn, and they were walking the red carpet. They go in there. So by the time Reba gets in there, she said, Lordy gracious, what is going on in there? And she said, I've got my zipper stuck and I got to use the ladies' room. She said, well, pull it up and then pull it back down again, and I'll be daggum if that didn't work.
We've got some Reba McEntire non-gossip news to pass along. Reba and South Carolinian Darius Rucker are going to co-host the 54th Annual CMA Awards on Armistice Day, November 11th. That's going to be from Nashville's Music Center. That will be televised on ABC. So, to my knowledge, this is the first time that Darius Rucker has been asked to be a co-host, and he becomes the second black country music singer to co-host the CMA Awards, as Charlie Pride co-hosted back in the 1970s.
And so, well, plus Darius is so good on stage, just interviews and things. I know he actually gave a guitar to one of my kids that was on The Voice last year. Handed it to him. He said, you impressed me so much, you need this. I'm going to give this to you so I can say I gave it away to someone I believe in. I thought that was pretty cool of him. But he's always great on camera. I was doing a charity work for Make-A-Wish Foundation many years ago, and he was involved before he was Darius, when he was with Hootie. And I'm standing behind him, and he's granting a wish to a dying child that wanted to go on a cruise with her family, on a Disney cruise. And I looked down, and he marks it out because it said exactly what you had to have to do the cruise for the family. It was $3,000. And he marked through it and put done and wrote down $3,000 down. I'm like, wow. And I never said anything. And then several years later, I ran into him in Nashville. That's when Doc McGee was managing him. And I was telling him, I said, I know a story about you. And I said, I just want you to know you have a big heart. And it was back I told him the year it was, at the golf course up in Bentonville, Arkansas. You see Mr. and Mrs. J.B. Hunt, Mr. and Mrs. Sam Walton on the wall. It was a charity event there. I seen shrimp that big around. I swear, like that big, like huge. And he said, what was it? And I told him, I said, you granted a wish to a dying child to take her family to Disney World. And he goes, how did you know that? I said, I was standing right behind you being a nosy butt. He starts laughing. He goes, and I was going to say, I don't remember anybody standing around me. I said, well, you are 2 foot taller than I am, But he's always been super nice, that I met him. So I'm so proud to see Darius hosting. And he's funny. He's just great to be on camera.
Ravenel, South Carolina's hometown kid there. And we know that we can tune in November 11th to see Darius and Reba together on the CMA Awards. Let's talk about Precious, somebody from Florida who has done a good job of cooking up things in the studio. But it appears, drum roll please, we've got the black screen because we're going to talk about this person right here. Cassadee Pope.
Oh, I love her. She's the sweetest thing.
She has a new record out. We've talked about that here on the Nashville Music Line Report with Preshias Harris. But did you know that Cassadee Pope's been cooking up more than just new music recently? She's been cooking up, she's been cooking like a lot of artists. Cassadee has been planning a full-length band project as a follow-up to last year's Stages effort. And then the COVID-19 hit, and recording studios across Music City had to shut down. So she made the best of all this downtime by confronting one of her fears. Her fear is not singing, her fear of cooking. As she said, she was deathly afraid of the kitchen and wouldn't cook. But now she's gone in, and she says she's baked cakes, and she's actually made scones, and says she's feeling good about her cooking skills now. Cassadee Pope. She can cook something for you and I anytime she wants to, Precious.
I know. And I saw her year before last at the ASCAP convention in LA. And of course, when she got off stage, everybody bombarded her. But I saw her later in the lobby, and I just told her, I said, you just make Nashville so proud. And of course, ASCAP too. But she said, it's been a ride, because she was a voice winner early on. I think she was a year after Danielle Bradbury. I can't remember. I've known 3 or 4 of the winners, when they come to town, and I've got to either interview them or work with them somehow, some way. But she's not changed in the years that when she won The Voice. She's always been super, super nice. I don't care where you are. She will talk to you. She loves her fans, and she's just and I got to interview her when her and Chris Young had their #1 party up at the Rotunda at the Country Music Hall of Fame. And of course, she was so humble. I mean, I'm talking humble and just sweet. She was very thankful that she had achieved that goal. And she's such an incredible artist. And I love it when really sweet people and deserving people get kudos and is in the news, which is one reason why that I always, when I know something good's going on with her, I always make sure that she's in my column, she's on my syndicated show, and of course, she's on your show, which is even better.
It ain't my show, it's y'all's show, Precious.
Y'all's show.
It's all y'all.
Fun.
I don't know how Cassadee does with the breakfast menu there, but breakfast is something she ought to excel in, especially considering that her latest EP, acoustic EP, Rise and Shine, is what's out on her own Awake music label. Cassadee Pope. Check out the new music and the good cooking evidently coming from this Floridian. We are the Y'all Show. Talk with a Southern accent. We have our country music insider, Preshias Harris, with us right now. And I'm not done talking about the ladies of country music. We'll have a little bit info on Tanya Tucker to pass along here momentarily. But let's go ahead and ask this week's trivia question. And this trivia question comes to us courtesy of iknowcountry.com. That's Miss Preshias Harris, a great lady in country music, by the way. It comes from her own publication, I Know Country, with the Q&A. This book is out there. You can get your print or ebook edition at iknowcountry.com. And from that book, the question, Precious, is name the song recorded by Trace Adkins and released in October of 2005, 15 years ago. And this song was the 3rd single from his album Songs About Me, and it went on to become a crossover pop hit and a popular ringtone. Oh my goodness, Trace Adkins.
There's a story about that too.
A ringtone. We'll tell you the answer of this trivia question. If you happen to know it, feel free, if you're watching this on Facebook, if you want to chime in. I know we've got some people that like to jump on here and tell us what they think of these trivia questions. So, courtesy of the book I Know Country, that trivia question, if you know it, go ahead and fire away, and we'll give you a special salute here from our own Preshias Harris as we continue on talking about country music news and more. Okay, Precious, let's talk right now as we continue our focus on the ladies of country music, and that would be Carrie Underwood. She's got a brand new holiday album, My Gift. It debuted at #1 on the Billboard Top Country Albums chart. Way to go, Carrie Underwood.
I know, and I'm very happy. You think about it, I think it's been 11 years since Carnival Ride came out, if I remember right. I've read a lot of country music stuff this week because I've had a couple of things I've had to work on for other projects. I'm working on a project for a big release in Europe for some country western music. And anyway, but Carrie has never had a country album. Never had released a country album through all the years of her time on RCA.
Let me stop you. Freudian slip. She's never had a Christmas album.
Yeah, Christmas. That's right, Christmas.
She's had a couple of country albums, I think.
Well, that's what I get for sniffing glue before I get on the show. Anyway, But I'm so excited. She actually set a new record, surpassing Miranda Lambert's record.
Yeah.
Um, yeah. And but anyway, but I know that the last person to have the top 100 that came in at that was on a Christmas album release was Garth and Trisha on their LP. I think it was 2016, 2015, 2016. Yeah, it was Garth and Trisha. So good company for her to be keeping.
Carrie Underwood with a country Christmas. We'll go ahead and combine the two, and that's what this My Gift is out. And it, again, went to number one. It just can't be, Precious. I don't mean to be an expert on country music like you, although I ought to be as much as I've covered it through the years. I can't imagine all that many country music albums that were Christmas albums being the overall number one album on the Billboard chart.
It's not been a lot. It's not been a lot at all. As a matter of fact, there's a very few handful that comes in like that, and most of them, of course, has been superstars. I'm anxious to see. I have not seen Dolly's enter. I mean, checked on it yet because I know it's called a Holly Dolly Christmas. Yeah, I think so. Is what it's called. Her
It
record's
is.
out. Yeah, and but anyway, I have not checked to see where hers debuted, but I want to see where that's at. But, she's had several albums out. That's one thing that she really loves doing is working on original music. So kudos to Miss Carrie for hers, and I'm excited to hear it.
Hey, let's keep the female parade going with Preshias Harris. How about Miss T, the Texas Dynamite Tanya Tucker, with a new live version of her now classic top 10 country smash, Delta Dawn. And this new track, which premiered via American Songwriter, appears on her upcoming new album, Live from the Troubadour, and that is out in just a few days. It comes out on the 16th of October via Fantasy Records. You can pre-order your album at a website, found.ee. And on October 2nd, just a few days ago, Tanya and her band took the stage for the first time since the pandemic hit with a show at Beaver Dam Theater, and that is in Beaver Dam, Kentucky. That's what we call
Yep.
in the country music radio. What is that station? The what's the radio station there in Western Kentucky? I used to hear them always talking about Beaver Dam.
Oh, WGGC.
Yeah, it's got a cute little nickname. Is it? It's not the possum,
Oh,
is it? Is it the possum?
no, it's called the Goober.
No, I don't know about
The
that.
Goober.
Yeah,
Well, there's a beaver.
the
There's a
beaver.
beaver right below it.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
think that's it. It's the beaver. Yeah,
yeah.
and they, Beaver Dam. So I'm sorry, I'm boring everybody talking about Kentucky radio
No, no,
stations.
hey, you're not boring me.
Yeah, I know,
You
I
know.
know.
But anyway,
Well,
you know where Beaver Dam's at, don't you?
I
It's
know
about 30 miles for the Everly Brothers was born,
in Beaver Dam.
and Earl Travis.
I'll be
Yeah, they're
Beaver
on that
Dam.
area, that coal mine area.
Okay. Well, yeah, that's where she performed back October 2nd. Precious, speaking of music concerts, I don't know what you're doing Friday night, but there's a concert that I've got a couple extra tickets for. And if you don't join me, maybe one of our lucky viewers can reach out to me and they can join me because I need a date. And I got 4 tickets. You ready for this? You ready? You want to go to Memphis with me?
I would love to go to Memphis, but
T. Graham Brown's playing in Memphis on Friday night, and I've
oh,
got
don't
couple
tell me
of
that.
tickets.
That's
Yeah,
my favorite.
I'm only bringing this up because we're reading about Tanya having a concert. Hardly anybody's having concerts, and so T. Graham Brown at a benefit concert here in Memphis, Tennessee, in a couple of days.
I love tea.
And I don't want to go by
Actually,
myself.
I know I would go in a heartbeat, but I have got people coming from Louisiana
Ah,
to stay with me,
but it's
running
T.
from the
Graham Brown.
hurricane.
It's T. Graham Brown.
I
I'm kidding.
know, but do
I,
I host somebody that's in a hurricane run, or do I go
yeah.
see one of my favorite all-time artists?
I hadn't thought about that. The Hurricane Delta could impact this concert, although I think it's scheduled for an indoor concert. And oddly enough, I'm talking about his T-ness, who had a hit duet with Tanya Tucker, Don't Go Out. What an
Yeah.
awesome song that was from T and double T, Tanya Tucker. So good to hear that she has that out. Hey, let me also give a plug here while we have you, Precious, to some upcoming album releases. Brother Osborne, brothers plural, Osborne with a new release here this week called Skeletons. Coming up in just a few days, we got a busy week next week Trace Atkins on the 16th is amongst several artists, including Tanya Tucker, that'll have new records out. Trace's latest project is called Ain't That Kinda Cowboy, and Tanya's is live from the Troubadour. We just mentioned that one's coming out. How about Jamie O'Neill? We haven't heard from There Is No Arizona singer and an Aussie, I think, for quite some time, but she's going to have a song called Sometimes, and that's going to be out here on the 16th. Runaway June, When I Think About Christmas, is going to be out as well next week.
Oh.
And Matt Stell, Better Than That. Those are, what is that, 5 CDs coming out next week alone.
Yeah. So we've got that was a surprise when I seen that come out for Runaway June. Usually I get at least a hint on publicity or something, that's coming out. But, they had one of the best fiddle players that joined them, because first they were a duo, then they were a trio. And when they were a trio, then they were a duo for like 48 hours. Then some things happened. Natalie Stovall, who's an incredible musician, incredible artist, incredible stage. She's actually was one of Charlie Daniels' favorite fiddle players.
Let's just cut to the chase. She's incredible.
She's incredible, yes. And so it's good to see. I'm anxious to hear what the track's going to sound like, because I love Christmas music. I start playing Christmas music November the 1st.
Well, that's still a couple of weeks away. There's some radio stations that have already flipped to Christmas music, and we're not even into mid-October quite yet. All right, Precious, let's talk about this week in country music history. It was on this date back in 1975. The number one song in country music was Willie Nelson's Blue Eyes Crying in the Rain, his first number one single. I didn't realize that because, of course, he was part of that Outlaws movement, of which we had a lot of great outlaw-type sounding songs from Willie. But, yeah, I wouldn't call Blue Eyes Crying in the Rain too outlawish. It was just a sweet song, and that was number one. A song written by Fred Rose. Willie, that may be one of his most famous songs, but he didn't write that one. The great songwriter Fred Rose, who I think also wrote Georgia. Does that sound right?
It does. I know he had a son named Wesley Rose that is part of the Acuff Rose legacy. Maybe his father had handed it down to him. But, yeah.
I may be wrong on the Georgia. I know the Willie Nelson cover.
No, but, it sounds real familiar, because I knew that he had some crossover hits. Fred did.
Yeah.
So you're probably a really good chance that you're right.
How about this? It was in 1973 this week that the show American Country Countdown, for decades hosted by the late Bob Kingsley, that show premiered back on this week in 1973. The show was co-created by Casey Kasem. Hello, Casey Kasem. And it was modeled on his own American Top 40 show. And in 1978, the producer of that show, Bob Kingsley, took over as host. And in 2006, that show morphed into Bob Kingsley's Country Top 40. Sadly, we lost Bob Kingsley in 2019. But Precious, I'm sure just like you, or you just like me, grew up listening to Bob Kingsley and American Country Countdown.
Oh, yeah. There was a special tribute from Garth to Bob's widow this past year at Country Radio Seminar. It was so touching and so sweet, as only Garth could do it.
And speaking of Garth, a perfect segue, Precious. It was 30 years ago this week. Troyal Garth Brooks became an official member of the Grand Ole Opry.
I can't do it.
I
know. I love that.
30 years ago, Garth Brooks, Grand Ole Opry member. And kudos to the Opry. Of course, he was a big star only, let's say, 18 months into his career. But they did a good job. And I think he's done a good job of giving back to the Opry over these 30 years and has made his home. He's back in Nashville, and things are good.
Isn't it so funny? I told you the reason why I always remember what day that Dierks Bentley got inducted. He's about the only one I can remember. Now I'm going to remember Garth. But it was my wedding day, and he was getting inducted. And the woman that is over all of the Opry interviews at that time for the syndicated shows and stuff was my best friend from high school, Shannon McCombs. And so she actually, I said, "You're going to miss the induction of Dierks?" She goes, "Are you kidding? I waited 42 years for you to get married. I'm going to your wedding." So I thought that was sweet.
That's good. And I got invited and didn't go to your wedding. Shame on me. And you came to
my
wedding.
Far away. You're far away.
I think you, as I've told people, and this is a sad statement, I know Preshias Harris is one of my best friends in the world. How do I know that? She came to both of my weddings.
Yeah, one about burned my flipping, what up. It was like, what, 120 degrees outside in Mississippi in
It
August.
was. The first one I got, the first one was a horrible thunderstorm that a lot of people coming from Nashville got into with tornadoes and such. So maybe that was divine, I guess, inspiration that I should have listened to and not pull the trigger. But oh well, that's the way life goes. Let's talk about what is in the top 5 in country music right this second. Number 1, Lee Brice holds on to number 1. The Sumter, South Carolina product is at number 1 with One of Them Girls. Number 2, his fellow Carolinian, this guy's from the north side of that border. Loving on You, Luke Combs at 2 this week. Jason Aldean's Got What I Got at 3. Jameson Rogers' Some Girls is at 4. And then Tim McGraw, I Called Mama is at number 5. And Precious, help me out here. Tim McGraw with the new song on the charts. He is no longer with Curb Records. Where is he recording these days?
Well, he left Curb many, many years ago, actually more than 5 or 6. And he went to Big Machine. And it didn't quite work out the way he wanted to. You have to remember, Scott Borchetta, who is CEO and president of Big Machine, his daddy was the one that actually signed Tim to Curb, I think, in 1989, 90. So it was Borchetta that actually signed him to a deal. And then it just didn't work out right for releasing or what. Like I said, there was no animosity. There's, they were always on the good way. And then Faith left Warner Brothers and he left Big Machine, and they both signed with Sony. Now, Sony, they didn't quite, from what I understand, see eye to eye on a creative side with Tim. So he chose to leave Sony and return back to BMG, where his original roots sort of stem from, with Scott's father. Mike Borchetta signed him to Curb many, many years ago. So he's back at Big Machine and working on new projects and stuff. So I'm anxious to see how it comes out. I know he's got stuff that's being released, but I also know that he's not quit listening to songs, is what I understand. So he's still listening to see what happens. But, it's a good thing as the best song wins. There's a lot of great songs out there. I've been hearing them come across my desk for a couple of my clients who are in the studio right now recording. We got a road trip planned to Muscle Shoals to go look at that studio, which my friend owns, and so I'm pretty excited about that. But it's just, I'm so, like I said, I knew Tim when we used to go two-stepping. I never two-step because I couldn't dance for flip. But we go over to Silverado's years ago. It was where the hangout to be when, Achy Breaky Heart and all that was breaking, and Tim was just getting started in town. He hang out at Barbara's, and we go over to a couple of shows and hear John Michael get up and sing acoustic, and it was just a great little place. Wherever you went in these little teeny tiny cub holes was always artists. One night we're sitting in Barbara's and Tanya comes in, and Mark Chestnut was there, and Jeff Cook from Alabama was there. It was just a fun night of music. And I'm sitting there going, pinch myself. Am I sitting in Nashville watching this at midnight and, on Printer's Alley where you're never
you should have been home. You should have been home.
But I had nobody to go home to. So
that's sad there. Hey,
I know.
Let's talk about a guy who maybe has been staying out late at night, but he won't be staying out quite as late as you used to. And I just mentioned his name because he's got the number 4 song in the land right now. Jameson Rogers, as his song Some Girls is at 4 this week. Congratulations to Jameson as he proposed to his girlfriend, Sarah Allison Turner. And you know where he did that? He did that at the Bluebird Cafe, and he did it on Tuesday of this week. So congratulations, or it could have been Monday. And he got engaged, Jameson Rogers. And on Twitter said that they met at the Bluebird 9 years ago, but it took a few years for him to finally ask her out. So he says, last night I surprised her there and asked her if she'd marry me. She said yes. So congratulations to Jameson Rogers and girlfriend Sarah Allison Turner on their pending nuptials.
I am so excited. Like I said, anytime you fall in love, and there's been so many things that I know where they met and how they met. It's like my husband. We met, but we never met I was escorting Steve Wariner and Firefall backstage at the Opry, and he was interviewing, I want to say, Jeannie Seeley. That's right, Miss Jeannie Seeley for International Country Music Report. And we literally brushed arms and never met because I was engaged and he was married at the
No, you
time.
mean the electricity didn't go off when y'all brushed arms? Gosh.
No, no. And then again, listen to this. I'm going into Davis Kid Bookstore because there's a book there called Dates from Hell. And I remember dying on one of my dates, and he actually become president of the radio broadcasters years later. I really did die. I'm not kidding. Uh,
You've told us this story, and yeah, go
yes.
back into
So
archives.
anyway,
She
and we
died
never
on
met.
her date, and they're still friends.
Yes, we're still friends. And so I went to. I was standing in line to get an to let him know that if he did a book too, that I had a great Dates from Hell story and a few moments made in heaven. So I'm standing in line. I'm like, I am tired. I have just got off the 8-hour shift at Dillard's. That's when I was in college. I'm going home. So anyway, I left the line, and he was the author of that book, Dates from Hell. So if I would have went on up in line and not left, I would have met my future husband. But I didn't. I left. So that's the second time I defied things. But of course, he was married. And then the third time we were together, I had my best friend from high school, Shannon, with at a book signing called Never Saw Beetle for the famed guy here in Nashville, Richard Courtney, who's a real estate agent, and he also is a huge Beatles memorabilia, anything you can think of that he knows about them. And he was having a book signing called Never Saw a Beetle, and he sort of used me and Shannon as the basis of the book, two Kentucky girls trying to get to New York to see the Beatles when they landed. And literally, he was two people from me and Shannon with his wife at the time because he was friends with Richard because they worked at the Realtors together. So we didn't meet. We actually met in what is now eHarmony. But yeah, that's how we
I don't
met.
know. I
So
think it's farmers only. But I'm glad it's working out for you. Hey, we've got to ask this trivia question or have it answered, and this again comes to us courtesy of a great book. Something tells me this book is an example of the collaboration that you and hubby have together, as y'all are both great writers. And that book would be I Know Country. That's got 366 daily question and answers on country music trivia. And from that book, we have the trivia question right now. Name the song recorded by Trace Atkins and released in October of 2005. And that song was the third single from that album, Songs About Me. And it went on to become a crossover pop hit. And perhaps more importantly, Precious, it became a popular ringtone. For goodness sake, what Trace Atkins song are we talking about?
well, I have to tell you, I have a story after this, but it is Honka Tonk Bonka Donk.
Honky
It was
tonk badonkadonk.
Honka Donk. And my friend was on a plane who worked for
Let me
Country Beat.
see your badonkadonks.
I can't say Badonka Donk.
Let me see yours. Okay, she won't show it. Okay. I was just
Anybody's going
kidding.
to tell
Well,
you.
I was a kid. I thought you actually might do it. Knowing you ain't right. But anyway, go ahead. I'm sorry, I'm interrupting.
It was so funny. No, I have to tell you the story. My friend's on an airplane and she's like sticks her foot in her mouth, toe jam and all. She's sitting beside the songwriter. And he said, yeah, I'm a songwriter coming back from the ACMs. She's sitting there. And she said, he said, what do you think about? He's talking about country music and all the great songs. She said, yeah, there's one song that just drives me knuck and futz. And she said, it drives me crazy. And he said, well, what is it? She said, it's Honka Tonk Bonka Donk. And he goes, really? And she goes, yes. He goes, well, I wrote that song. And she goes,
Uh,
oh, I'm sorry, but I still don't like it. And it was Dallas Davidson. She was sitting beside Dallas Davidson. So
uh,
anyway, but I thought that was a cute thing. But
all right, Precious, let's zip
Dunn
through.
wrote that.
Yeah, let's zip through a few things before we sign off here. As the Country Network, that is a country music channel that's kind of hard to find. I think they mostly do it over the air on the broadcast signals for some select television stations. They premiered a new music video for Brandon Collins' latest single, Blame It on Nashville. That came out at the end of September. The debut single was released in August and immediately garnered praise from fans and in the industry, including a spot on the coveted ACM Awards, the ACM New Music Friday playlist, and on Spotify is where you saw that. As this song, Blame It on Nashville, is a tune about falling in love and breaking up among the magic of Music City. Tell me more about Brandon Collins. That's a name I'm not all that familiar with.
Well, he's actually a newcomer on the scene, but he has been in Nashville for a bit, writing songs and songwriting and So I'm surprised that, I mean, I know he's had some disappointments here, but I'm real surprised that it was a single because I've heard some things that he has written, there's listening sessions or he's co-written, and I was real surprised that they had chosen this song for the single. But you know what? It's the truth, total the truth. I mean, I've got so many stories that I've had here that what, and even though they say it's what Nashville done to you, it's just a very small group of people here in Nashville that gives Nashville a bad name, unfortunately. And that's one reason why that sometimes you come here, you're not really expecting what you have to do to get to the next level, and it is overwhelming. It's like you come here and you think you're going to be, nursing assistant, and next thing you know, you're having to perform brain surgery, and it's really tough. And the more knowledge you have, the more enabled you are to make really good decisions about your career, and it gives you what I call empowers you to go to the next level in your career, because education is something that is a very wonderful thing. You know, that's the best thing you can do for your career. That's why they have college courses. But once again, it's not all about education. It's about talent and hard work and work ethic and knowing the right people, and things come your way and making really good decisions on your career. But yeah, I love Brandon. Like I said, I was supposed to interview him at CRS and I didn't get to. But hopefully in the near future I will, because his publicist is a friend of mine.
And don't forget, Precious, sometimes, though, let's be honest, it is about the badonkadonk. October 1989. Where was Preshias Harris? October 1989. What were you doing?
I was in interior design school in Bowling Green, Kentucky.
I was in college as well, and it was in that first semester of my first year of college that I heard a song on the radio when I returned to my hometown, and I went out and bought the darn cassette tape for this album because I thought this song was great. I like the other single, the first single I like from this artist too, but when I heard the second one, I had to go get this cassette tape. It was the self-titled debut Garth Brooks, and that second single from that album was called If Tomorrow Never Comes. That song was written by Kent Blasey, and Kent Blasey, I really haven't heard much of as a singer all these years after that song and others he had on the chart, but he is releasing a new 13-track album. Kent Blasey, what more can you tell us about this talented singer and songwriter?
Well, he's always played out and been around. He's always involved in Ten Pan South, anything to do with songwriters' rights. He's very involved in Music City. He's almost like a local hero here to us. And but he was a huge supporter of Garth, and that actually is the song, because a lot of people don't realize that Garth um, had released the song and it didn't go as quick as they wanted it to go. And the song that went up the charts that really like opened the doors for him and got him, I remember going to the Nashville Songwriters Hall of Fame induction and him getting a song award, him and Kent, for If Tomorrow Never Comes. And you know where Garth got that title at? When I interviewed him, he said
Garth
he was at
co-write this song?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Garth wrote Tomorrow Never Comes.
With
And Garth
Kent Blasey?
said, yeah, with Kent. And Garth said he was at the public library. He would go there and look through books and get song ideas, which I thought, I'm going to steal that. I'm going to use it for my kids to get song titles because they're running out of titles in pandemic, whatever it is. Anyway, so he said he was reading a Hank Senior book, and he looked in the back, and there was a quote that said, "If tomorrow never comes," and he said he wrote it down. And when he got in the writing session with Kent, he said they wrote the song. And I'll never forget the first time I seen Garth at the Bluebird in 1990. My mother was with me before she got sick, and she goes, "He's gonna be a star. You wait and see." So anyway, I look over in the corner, and I thought that looks just like Bono from YouTube, and I'm like, no, he would never be in Nashville. Well, I just got my subscription. I'm so excited to Music Row magazine, and I'm going through there. Bobby Carr works the room, and I went, "Oh my God, it was you two." My girlfriend said I was crazy, but I showed her the print that said Bono was with his drummer, I think, from YouTube, was at the Bluebird that night. So I'm like, yeah, you never know who you're going to see. Like running into Bon Jovi at Douglas Corner, you know, you just never know who you're going to see.
As a songwriter, Kent Blasey has had a total of 7 #1 hits to his credit, many of those recorded by Garth Brooks. So, yeah, how about that? This new 13-track album, Authentic is what it's called, and you can go to Kent Blasey's website, kentblasey.com, to learn more about it. And as we wrap up with you, Precious, a footnote to a story we broke here last week because we just got the news, sadly, that Mac Davis had passed away. This week in his hometown of Lubbock, Texas, they laid Mac Davis to rest and had a procession there in the town that he actually sang about leaving Lubbock, Texas in his rearview mirror, and now he's there for until eternity, or for eternity. Mac Davis buried in Lubbock, Texas this week, and a lot of people still paying tribute to this great singer-songwriter. Precious, we appreciate everything you do here on the Y'all Show, and boy, we've passed along some great information here this week, including a little badonkadonk. And she's speechless.
No, I was going to tell you, there's only one Christmas song I play 24. I know I'm like ADD and bouncing off the walls, but I have to tell you my favorite all-time Christmas song that I play every week for 52 weeks.
Do you really? You want me to guess it?
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to say Jingle Bell Rock.
Close. That's my second favorite.
Oh, Brenda Lee? Is that the version you like?
No, that's Bobby Helms. He did Jingle Bell Rock. Brenda Lee did Rocking Around the Christmas Tree. She's in my top 3. Okay?
Shame on me for not knowing that.
It's Elvis Presley. Santa, bring my baby back to me. Santa, bring my baby back to me. That's all I can remember. I remember crying because I left it in the window of my mother's 68 Mercury, and I come out from Mama's house, and it was curled, and she goes, "Oh, just stop your crying. I'll buy you 10. Just don't cry anymore."
Okay.
Worst childhood, terrible.
I'm surprised it wasn't "I'll have a blue Christmas." With that, what are we doing singing Christmas songs? It's not even Halloween yet. Shame on both of us.
Elvis. Did you see my work? Look back there. Look at all the Elvis.
I know. We need to.
Elvis hanging, Elvis cartoon. Look up there.
we need to send you back to interior decorating school or something. I don't know.
I know. And look in the window.
Oh,
look,
gosh, we see it. Precious.
Hang on.
You do know that Elvis and style don't exactly go together. You do know that, right?
Yeah, look, Elvis right here. Oh, wrong leg. Wrong arm.
Yeah. Oh, you think it's funny. Oh, gosh. Everybody, it's Preshias Harris, and she is on the Y'all Show with her Nashville Music Line Report. Thank you, Precious.
Bye, everybody. Have a good week. Bye-bye.
Right. And we will see her again next week, and we will see all y'all next time we get together and talk about country music and so much more on this, the show that's all about the South. This is Y'all. Thanks for tuning in.